I want to show you here. 4th century AD. Anybody here around then? Nope. Okay, so this is history for all of us. Almost, Jerry, not quite. There's this man named Evagrius Ponticus who went into the desert of Egypt to fight the devil. He read that Jesus went and fasted for 40 days, and the devil came and tempted him, and so in doing so, he intended to follow his example. Is anyone else following Jesus' example like Ponticus here? Anybody to that level? Anybody 40-day, 40-night fast under the Egyptian sun? Pretty impressive stuff, right? So you're hoping maybe some pretty impressive stuff came from this, and you would be right. It did. Before he died, he penned a short handbook. It's called Talking Back. That's the name of the sermon here this morning, Talking Back. The subheading is a monastic handbook for combating demons. That has got to be, as John Mark says, the coolest subtitle ever. This is a monastic handbook for combating demons. It must be read in that voice. He is said to have generated the most sophisticated demonology in all of ancient Christianity. So he didn't just go crazy out there under the sun. He wasn't some monk who turned into a lunatic. He was actually incredibly clear-minded, was sought out by many who would travel from far distances to say, what have you learned? What has God shown you through this? What has it been like to fight demonic spirits? And this is quite possibly one of the most surprising, greatest, what came out of his time in the desert, and it is called logismoi. It is a Greek word that can be translated as thoughts or thought patterns, thoughts into temptations, internal beliefs, the logosmoi. And for Evagrius, I don't know why I cannot say, I've been saying it all week to myself. For Evagrius, these logosmoi, they weren't just thoughts and patterns, but that they actually had a malignant but intent behind them. That he said there was a dark animating force behind these thoughts that were coming into his mind. And so in this book, in this handbook, he organizes the thoughts into 8 chapters and 8 basic logismoi. Later, it would become what we know as the 7 deadly sins. Each entry in the book speaks against the thought that. So I want to read for you, show you a little bit here what I'm talking about. So right now, I'm in his book here. I bought the book, started reading it. It's amazing. And so I'm reading right now under gluttony. So what he does is he goes through every book of the Bible and based off of that sin relates the verse and speaks directly to it. So against the thought that seeks to be filled with food and drink and gives no heed to the harm that springs from filling the belly. Isn't that a good one for us? To the thought that seeks to be filled with food and drink and gives no heed, no thought to the harm that can spring from having a stomach that is constantly full. Deuteronomy 6:11-12. Having eaten and been filled, pay attention to yourself, lest you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And that goes on for 478 of those, divided into the 8 different mortal sins, so to speak. Isn't that incredible? So I guess if you go out in the desert to be like Jesus and combat demons, he gives you a ton of amazing knowledge. More on that later as we walk into this, but I want to look at this idea this morning. We showed you the devil last week, talked about him, his tactics and all of that. And so our fight with the devil is first and foremost a battle for your mind. Understand that? It's for your mind. It's not for your actions. It's not that you'll go sin with your body. It is a battle for your thoughts. He wants to control your thoughts. He wants to be Lord of your thoughts.